Hi there, welcome to another painting tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to paint a Thanksgiving turkey, so let's get started. Let's start with grabbing our fine mist sprayer and doing just a little bit of a spray to wet the paper, but not too much. And now I'm going to grab a size 8 round brush and we're going to put in our darker values. We're just going to block those in. And we're going to use this Vandyke Brown to do that. So think about where your shadows are. I've got some that are under the beak here and kind of in between the feathers as well. And you can download this sketch. It's going to be linked below. So just go ahead and print it out or use your tablet to trace. That's kind of what I do. I use it almost like a light box and just trace out the image. Let's put some dark value around the beak. And there's a little bit of a nostril there. Let's see if you can put that in with the point of your brush. So it's just kind of like a teardrop shape. And then also put a little bit of that darker value along the beak. And let's put some down here. I've got a little bit too much water going on, but that's okay. I'm gonna kind of take my time and let it dry as we go. Let's put some of this dark value in between the feathers, just as a shadow. You can use any shade of dark brown that you have. Brown is just a great color to do a nice underpainting and kind of block in your values. Okay, and then you can put some dark shadow in between the feathers that are kind of along the top here. And you might bring it up all the way and do a couple of these feathers that are in shadow, just to get that rich brown flowing around the page. Okay, let's move to the eye and let's get a small brush. I'm gonna use my trusty, where is it? Size 0 spotter. And let's put in some black here. So I have a Payne's gray. You can use Payne's gray or black. And then see if you can carefully just do that round part of the eye. Try to make it as round as you can. Move the paper around if you have to. And then let's make another ring around that eye. Very carefully. Okay, I think that looks good. And then that should be it for the black, and let's let that dry. Okay, so let's look at some of these other colors and let's switch brushes. I'm gonna switch, let's see. Actually, let's take a dark teal color. Let's stick with this, maybe a size 6 filbert. Let's take a little bit of the Payne's gray and mix some of this teal just to give us a darker value teal. And let's try to put some of that down along the end here. And this brush is good because it's going to give you almost the shape of a feather that you would be looking for. So you can just let the brush do the work for you here. And you just kind of press down. You're having the feathers go in the direction that you want them to. And that's going to give you the illusion of a feather shape. Now let's put in, actually, I want to add that up along the other parts. So mix a little bit more of that darker teal shade and let's put in some shadows. So along this part of the turkey is in quite a bit of shadow. There's some shadow up here. And then there's shadow around this side. We can just put that in, and you can go right on top of the brown paint. Grab a little bit more of Payne's gray, mix that darker teal shade, and that Payne's gray has a lot of blue in it, so it's gonna mix nicely with the teal, which is like a blue-green shade. So let's actually go ahead and put all of that in, because I think it's going to make a nice kind of underpainting. We're covering up the sketch, but that's okay. Cover up some of the brown there. Okay, so now let's move to some darker reddish colors. So I have this color that's like just a dark maroon red. Let's put that along the beard of the turkey. And then we can put it around the eye as well. And we wanted that black to have dried quite a bit before we do this step. So it's okay if it mixes a little bit, but we probably should have let that dry just a little bit more. So just be careful when you go around that area. Let's put the red here. Okay, and then let's put some of this darker red where some of the feathers are. You can put it up here. So again, use that filbert to do the work for you. Press down and kind of lift up, and it's going to give you a nice shape of the feather. And let's use some of that red down here. Just put in some more of those feather shapes. So we're using a lot of kind of wild colors here. Not really wild, but kind of a lot of jewel tones. And it's just kind of a fun exercise to play with some colors that you might not ordinarily use. Okay, and then let's go to some oranges. So I can let's use some Burt Sienna and kind of have that be a little bit of an orange color for us. Just gonna pop that in on some of these lower feathers. And then I might put some of that up here. And like I said, you're letting that shape of the filbert help you get the shape of those feathers nice and easily. Going kind of thick with the paint here. It's okay, that's going to give us some variety of texture. Okay, and now I might switch to a different shade. We could do some of this yellow ochre, which is a nice, beautiful yellow that has some golden undertones. And you can see that my paint colors are kind of mixing. We're doing a little bit of wet on wet here, which is fine. Accidentally picked up this lemon yellow, which is actually okay. It looks nice. So I'm going to stick with that. We're just putting in these beautiful feathers. Okay, so we have the yellow there. We could put some kind of under here as well. Okay, so now let's move over to the beak and let's switch brushes. I'm going to switch to a size 6 round brush. It's got a nice fine point and gives me a nice amount of control. I have this beige color that's just from a craft paint pre-mixed, and I'm gonna carefully put that in along the beak. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a spray. Just because our paper is pretty dry and I want the paints to flow a little more easily, so I'm using that spray. Okay, and I'm just putting this nice beige shade right here. All right, so that looks good. Let's add a little more detail to the eye. So I'm gonna take this Burt Sienna and then put that around the eye. And I hope that the black paint has dried enough to where this is gonna kind of stand out for me. And just a light layer, it's almost like a glaze. It's covering that white of the paper nicely, shining through for kind of like a light effect. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. Let's see, what could we add next? Let's try to maybe put in some lighter colors now. So what if we let's take the size 6 filbert and see if we can put in just like a straight teal paint. See if that shows up on top of that darker color. And then I'm gonna use the edge of my brush and just kind of make some line shapes along the head. Just kind of going in the direction of form. You're getting kind of a little bit more texture that way. Let's kind of make some feathery shapes. Okay, so we did kind of the darker colors. Now we're trying to do more of mid-tone shades. Let's try some vermilion red. See if we can put that along this part of the turkey, just around the eye. Okay, and then let's put some of that over this darker red that we had. So we just want it to be a little bit of a brighter color, but we still want the dark areas to show as well. And we could do that with the other, we could take some of this bright orange, maybe mix a little bit of a pale yellow or some white, and then see if you could get a lighter value for some of these feathers, just to put another layer, another dimension on top of there. Okay, and then I might take a light yellow and do that with these feathers. Just adding another dimension. Okay, and then we might do that with the red. Take a little bit of white with some of the red, and then pop that on top of these feathers. Getting nice expressive brush strokes, kind of turning it to the side. So that's basically where we're trying to make kind of layers of dark underneath and then a lighter value on top of that. So let's go back. I'm going to take this round brush with the size 6 And I want to work on the eye a little bit. So let's take some of this tan shade and see if we can make an eyelid here. And then let's go underneath. And that's kind of bringing the eye out a little bit. And then I want to let's take a little bit of white and maybe mix it with a tiny bit of teal and see if we can use that for a highlight. Just put a little highlight in the eye there. Okay, and then I'm going to take some white and I'm going to put a little highlight on the beak. Okay, and then kind of step back, look at your piece, and kind of decide what you need to adjust and work on. So I'm going to take some of this Payne's gray, and I'm just going to go around and outline the top of the head here. And then I'm going to bring it around the beak. And then I'm going to bring it underneath here. And then why don't I bring it over here too? So I'm just making kind of a stark black outline there. And that's not something I would typically do, but just because of all the bright, bold colors we had, we just really needed to kind of separate those areas a little bit more. So then I could take like a damp brush and go back, just kind of blend that a little bit and soften it. It's just like a nice bright strong and a bold transition. And because the Payne's gray, it has a lot of blue in it, hopefully it won't be too harsh with the teal colors that we have going. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a lighter shade, and I want to get the highlights of some of these feathers, so we can just take some titanium white, take a little bit of the teal, and see how that looks if we put it along the head here. And I'm using the edge of my brush, kind of making it look like feather shapes. And then down here I'm going to really press down to make the appearance of feathers. Okay, and then I might put a little bit of a highlight here. Just to kind of define the cheek a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to come over here, kind of bring these two areas. I want this to just be a little bit more abstract along the bottom. I'm just kind of bringing some of this paint down a little bit more. Okay, and then if you want some highlights for the feathers, you could do a lighter value and just put some, kind of add some streaks. I'm using this kind of yellow, light yellow shade. Just add a few highlights, just using the tip of the brush. Okay, so I think we're going to call that done. It's a little bit of a different piece. So I hope you get a chance to paint this. It's a very fun project for Thanksgiving, so give it a try. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye.